This has got to be one of the most important videos I've ever made on my channel. I've been running my channel this entire bull market. I was telling you guys that Bitcoin looked very bottomed out when it was at 15K and 16K, and I have an average on Bitcoin around $15,900. And we are on track for Bitcoin to put in its highest weekly close in its history, in its entire history. In today's video, I'm going to be discussing the ramifications of this move. I'm going to be talking about the altcoin market, which, despite it outperforming Bitcoin, in the last few months, it's still not where people have been hoping it would be. So we'll be discussing all of that in today's video. If that sounds interesting, please make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel as well if you're new. Check out the Blowfin link down below. There's an exclusive giveaway available. If you use that link, you might win an iPhone 17 in a cash equivalent. And check out the VIP group using the link down below to join many other like-minded traders in a Discord group where I'm dropping my real-time buy and sell alerts. So Bitcoin has had a very good bull run, in my opinion. Despite people saying this bull run hasn't been amazing, Bitcoin has made a gain of over an 8x from the low to the high, and I've pretty much caught this entire wave on the YouTube channel. Now we are on track for the highest weekly close ever. The weekly close is tonight as of the time I'm recording this video, and as long as we close above 119.6K, we are essentially closing on Bitcoin at the highest value ever, and it's by a significant amount. It's not marginal. The question is, does this indicate further upside for Bitcoin, or does this potentially indicate a cycle top, considering the 4-year cycle is scheduled to end this month, the middle of this month? It's actually supposed to end next week. Those are the questions, right? Is it over, or is this the beginning of a major macro move to the upside for Bitcoin? And when we look at Bitcoin currently, you can see I have these blue lines drawn out here. We were trading in this kind of bull flag type of thing. We broke out of it. I said, once we break these two levels of resistance, we are absolutely ready to go. We broke the blue line, and then we broke the white line, which is the macro resistance. And Bitcoin inevitably pumped after we broke those levels. Now we are coming into contact with a potential resistance, which not many people are talking about, which is if you draw a resistance line from the first high in July 2025, the second high in August 2025, and you continue that out, it is showing a resistance point around 125.8 or 0.9K. Bitcoin came up to 125.7K, and it seems like it has rejected that trend line. Now, another resistance point, which is hidden in a way, and I talked about this as potential resistance a while back, is if you draw a line from the first high on Bitcoin in July 2025, the second high on Bitcoin, August 2025, and then you continue it out, you can see that it is currently showing some resistance around 126.6K if we were to hit that, obviously, today. Now, Bitcoin bounced, and it almost got to this resistance line. It didn't exactly hit it, but some sells started coming in at this point before we hit the line. And it's going to be very interesting to see what Bitcoin does as it approaches this resistance. A break above it would be absolutely insane, but it also could reject here and essentially come back down on BTC. So we need to watch this situation very closely, as we are expecting a potential 4-year cycle top in October if we line up with the date range trend. I've told you guys many times, I believe the 4-year cycle has its flaws. I believe it has its cracks now, because it's all derived from the Bitcoin halving. The supply shock from the halving is basically negligible now because of the percentage of Bitcoin that's already in circulation. So the halving is no longer this great supply shock event that pumps the price. It didn't pump the price. In fact, we actually dumped after the Bitcoin halving this time around. But when we look at this chart and we go and look at the RSI, what we can see is very, very interesting indeed. We can go and put a trend line on the RSI and we can go on all the major highs since this bull run, essentially. And what we can see is we are currently hitting an RSI point of resistance on the daily, this is. So it's going to be very interesting to see what Bitcoin does as it hits this level, as you can see it's doing right now, because every other time we have hit this level on the RSI, we have rejected. Now, just because we reject on the RSI doesn't mean that's going to be instantly the top. You can see we rejected here, yet we continued to go from 91K all the way up to 107K. All right, you can see we rejected here. We then continued to go higher. So it doesn't necessarily mean the top is directly in at that point. But what you can see from the most recent example, the July time we rejected, that was essentially the top point. So whilst this RSI rejection doesn't necessarily mean, yep, that is initially the top once it rejects, it shows some weakness and it shows that a potential top could be coming quite soon. The same way when you look at bearish divergences forming, they can go on for weeks after, right? You can still have price action appreciating. But what a bearish divergence is showing you is that the price action is, in fact, weakening to the RSI, and you would expect at some point a reversal. It's not an instant reversal, but it's showing relative weakness. The fear and greed is currently sat at 58, which remains in neutral territory, indicating that a crypto bull market top is not there in terms of actual sentiment. I personally believe we will see extreme greed again. The last time we hit extreme greed was November 21st, 2024. It would be extremely funny and ironic if the next time we hit extreme greed is also November, but this year. So I would not be expecting a crypto bull market top, especially for altcoins, until we see the fear and greed in the extreme greed category. But obviously this can change very quickly. If we get a breakout on the total 3 chart here, which it looks like we're about to get, I would expect the fear and greed index to drastically start shooting up. Many people think that altcoins have been performing bad compared to Bitcoin as of late, but the reality is they have actually been outperforming Bitcoin. If we go and look at total 3 and we go from the April crash to the recent highs, total 3 has gained 78% return in that period of time. Bitcoin, since the April crash, has not matched those same returns. Bitcoin has done 68%. So it's not a huge difference, but altcoins have in fact been outperforming Bitcoin as of late, especially Ethereum, which is the king altcoin. Okay. Ethereum has outperformed Bitcoin substantially more than what total 3 has outperformed Bitcoin. If we go and look at Ethereum since April, Ethereum has gained 275% compared to the 69% for Bitcoin and the 78% for the total 3 chart. This to me indicates that total 3 is undervalued relative to its Ethereum comparison, because Ethereum has drastically outperformed the altcoins. The altcoins are riskier and more volatile than Ethereum. So I would argue that the best bet right now is to be positioned in the altcoins. Even though Ethereum is, of course, an altcoin, we all know that. People have been making distinctions between the two this bull run. So I'm going to go along with it, right? But I usually like to lump Ethereum in the same basket as altcoins because at the end of the day, it is the leading altcoin. And typically we see Ethereum move first, and then we see the other altcoins, the catch-up trades to Ethereum, the competitor layer ones. Typically we see them move after Ethereum moves. And I'm expecting that breakout on total 3, as I've said many times. I'm seeing major signs that it should pump. The RSI is incredibly low when you consider that we're at all-time highs. The last time we were at this price level, the RSI was off the charts. It was at 86. Currently, it's very, very neutral. And if we zoom out and we look at the 2-week for total 3, you can see that there is a major cup and handle very visible on this chart on a macro scale. I'm just going to draw it here. See that? Major cup and handle on the macro chart, clear as day. And I'm expecting that to play out. And we'd have the target probably around the 2.618, around 1.97 trillion on the total 3 chart. Though I would be taking profits prematurely. I would be personally taking some profits at the 1.618 because you just never know, right? You never know this cycle. You got to take those profits as they come. And I was stacking altcoins all the way at the bottom of total 3. So taking profits up here is a great ROI when you consider it. Now, despite the fact the 4-year cycle is predicting a Bitcoin top in the middle of October, that is not bad news for altcoins. Many people have it mistaken. They think that Bitcoin and altcoins have to top at the same point. There is a bit of a mixed history when it comes to that. Sometimes we've seen Bitcoin and altcoins top out literally on the same day, such as the January 20th inauguration pump that we had in January 2025. Sometimes we've seen a very close gap, such as the 2021 November bull market top, where most altcoins topped out actually before Bitcoin, or basically the same day as Bitcoin. And then other times we've seen a much bigger gap, such as in 2017, where BTC topped out in December, kind of December 20th, let's just say. Might not be exactly true, but it looks like December 20th was the top, approximately. And Ethereum topped out in 2018, so the following year, around the 13th of January. So not exactly a month later, but a good few weeks later, Ethereum topped out compared to Bitcoin in the 2017-18 bull market. So it's very possible that we could have a Bitcoin top in October and an altcoin top in November. And you can look at really recent history, such as the recent high that Ethereum just put in. Ethereum put its recent high in on the 23rd of August. Okay. Bitcoin put its recent high in, if you exclude the current one, on the 14th of August. So there was essentially an 11-day gap between Bitcoin hitting its high and then Ethereum hitting its high 11 days later. I wouldn't complain at that. If Bitcoin puts its top in mid to end of October, Ethereum puts its top in, November 10th, November 5th, something like that, I'm not complaining, because I think we could see a big rotational move into the altcoins. And as I've said many times, guys, it only takes a few weeks. It doesn't take many, many months to see this kind of move on Total 3. It really doesn't. Total 3 can move 70% in a whole month. It can do that. Seriously, it can. We've seen Ethereum move ridiculous amounts in a very short period of time. Total 3 is even more high risk than Ethereum, even more volatile than Ethereum. So we could certainly see a 70% move on Total 3 within a 3 to 4 week window, as long as the ingredients are there to make, the perfect recipe for a big rally on altcoins. Now, Bitcoin dominance is a very interesting one indeed, because it is currently at macro support, as I've showed you many times. And I've said this has been the hardest point in Bitcoin dominance to predict. I still have my base case as Bitcoin dominance making a move up to the 618 fib, only to get rejected and then drop down lower, potentially to the 382 fib at 52%, or maybe even lower than that, and go for the 236 fib at 47%. I can't necessarily give you a perfect timeline on that, but I'm expecting a big drop on Bitcoin dominance at some point in Q4, though I am expecting a short-term little bounce as Bitcoin goes and puts in its all-time high. Once Bitcoin goes and puts in a new all-time high and it retraces a little bit, then I'm expecting a big rotational move into the altcoins during a 2 or 3 week period. So those are all my current thoughts on the market. I hope this video was valuable. Yeah, I haven't really talked about many specific altcoins in this video, but I did make a video talking about my top 7 altcoins to buy in the month of October. So make sure you watch that video if you haven't already on the channel. And I will be dropping on my second channel a video on low cap altcoins to be stacking. So make sure you subscribe to my second channel, which is linked in the description. And finally, if you are interested in following my real-time buy and sell alerts, and you want to join a crypto group which is active 24/7, even whilst I've been making this video, you can see people have been sharing alpha, people have been discussing the markets, and it's been a great place to be, even for me, even for someone who's an accomplished trader. I see opportunities in this chat. I find new gems. I find new trade setups. So I highly recommend it. You can get your own personal portfolio reviewed by some of the members. And the best part of all, you can track those real-time buy and sell signals from me. Check it out, link down below. There is currently a discount available if you're looking for a lifetime payment plan on the VIP or the big bundle. Use the code UPTOBER at checkout on the lifetime options. And finally, if you want to trade on the best crypto exchange, check out Blowfin, linked down below, with a big exclusive giveaway just for my community. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. Goodbye.